Chapter 1, The Arrival. The heavy iron gates creaked open, beckoning James Anderson into the heart of darkness. He stepped onto the desolate prison grounds, his eyes taking in the imposing structure of Westbrook Penitentiary. The gray walls towered above him, casting a chilling shadow that seemed to stretch into eternity. James had heard tales of this place, whispered among the inmates in hushed tones. Its reputation for cruelty and despair preceded it, and now he found himself at the mercy of its relentless grip. Anxiety clawed at his chest, but he steeled himself, determined to survive the ordeal that lay ahead. As he passed through the entrance, the heavy scent of despair mingled with the acrid stench of stale urine and despair. The sound of clanging metal echoed through the corridors, a symphony of misery that sent shivers down his spine. James knew he had entered a world where humanity was stripped away, leaving only the remnants of broken souls. The harsh fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting a cold, unforgiving glow on the pale faces of the prisoners. Their eyes, filled with resignation or flickers of defiance, followed James's every move. He could feel their collective gaze upon him, assessing, judging. James was assigned to cell Block C, reserved for the most hardened criminals. The guards, with their stern expressions and batons at the ready, herded him down the narrow hallways. The walls were adorned with faded, peeling paint, mirroring the decay that seemed to seep into every corner of Westbrook Penitentiary. As he entered his cramped cell, James took in the bleak surroundings. The small window offered a glimpse of the outside world, but it served as a constant reminder of his captivity. The rusted metal bars seemed to mock him, reinforcing the fact that escape would be no easy feat. Silence enveloped the cell block, broken only by occasional murmurs and distant cries of anguish. James knew he would need to adapt quickly if he wanted to survive the harsh realities of prison life. He clenched his fists, vowing to himself that he would not succumb to despair or become just another forgotten soul within these unforgiving walls. But even as James prepared himself for the challenges that awaited him, he couldn't shake the feeling of isolation. He was a stranger in this world, surrounded by dangerous individuals with their own hidden agendas. He knew that survival would be easier with a small group of trusted allies, but finding such companions amidst the sea of treachery would be a daunting task. James lay down on his thin, worn mattress, staring up at the grimy ceiling. Thoughts of escape danced in his mind, a flickering flame of hope in the darkness. He closed his eyes, determined to steel his resolve and face the tough conditions that awaited him in Westbrook Penitentiary. Little did he know that the battle for his freedom would test not only his physical endurance but also his faith in the inherent goodness of humanity. Chapter 2, The First Encounter. James woke to the sound of metal doors clanging shut, signaling the start of another grueling day in Westbrook Penitentiary. He rose from his uncomfortable bed, the springs creaking beneath him, and prepared himself for the challenges that lay ahead. As he stepped into the communal area, James cast a cautious gaze around, taking in the sight of hardened inmates going about their routines. A sense of unease settled in the pit of his stomach. He knew that within these prison walls, trust was a luxury that could cost him his life. James observed the interactions among the inmates, seeking any flicker of decency that might hint at potential allies. He witnessed acts of brutality, petty rivalries, and simmering tensions that seemed ready to ignite at any moment. The prisoners' faces were etched with weariness, distrust, and a touch of madness. Amidst the sea of hostile faces, James spotted a man sitting alone at a worn-out table. The man's eyes held a glimmer of vulnerability, a spark of humanity that seemed out of place in this harsh environment. Intrigued, James cautiously approached him. The man introduced himself as Carlos, a former thief who had spent several years within these unforgiving walls. He spoke with a weariness that mirrored the weight of their shared confinement. Carlos understood the importance of alliances in this prison, where survival depended on the strength of numbers. As they spoke, James discovered that Carlos, like him, had been searching for trustworthy allies. They shared stories of betrayal and violence, finding solace in the knowledge that they were not alone in their struggles. They recognized that the path to escape would be treacherous, but together, their chances would increase. However, the specter of betrayal loomed large in their minds. They knew that many prisoners would readily sell out their companions for even the smallest favor or a fleeting moment of respite. The desire for survival turned even the seemingly decent ones into potential threats. James and Carlos understood that building a crew would require caution and patience. They resolved to keep their intentions hidden, a well-guarded secret within their hearts. They would observe, analyze, and test the waters before deciding who could be trusted with their lives. Days turned into weeks, and James and Carlos carefully navigated the intricate web of prison politics. They kept their distance from the power-hungry and the manipulative, learning to discern the true nature of those around them. The prison became a battleground of wits, where every word and gesture held potential danger. In their quest for a crew, James and Carlos encountered various prisoners who seemed promising at first but ultimately revealed their true colors. They witnessed acts of betrayal, friendships shattered by a single selfish act, and lives forever altered by misplaced trust. With each disappointment, James grew more vigilant, realizing the magnitude of the task before him. The evil that thrived within Westbrook Penitentiary seemed pervasive, poisoning even the smallest glimmers of hope. But he refused to surrender to despair. He knew that somewhere within this dark labyrinth, there had to be a few individuals who clung to their humanity, just as he did. As James and Carlos continued their search, the weight of their isolation became more apparent. The longing for companionship, for someone to watch their backs and share the burden of escape, intensified. But they remained steadfast, determined not to rush into alliances that could prove fatal. In the depths of Westbrook Penitentiary, James and Carlos faced the harsh reality of prison life. They confronted the depths of human depravity and the dire consequences of misplaced trust. But they also nurtured a flicker of hope, a belief that somewhere in the darkness, a group of souls might be waiting, ready to unite against the oppression that bound them. As they retired to their cells that night, James and Carlos knew that their search was far from over. The road to freedom was treacherous, and the odds were stacked against them. But they vowed to persevere, fueled by the knowledge that escape was easier with a little group, a group built on trust, loyalty, and the shared determination to defy the evil that permeated every corner of Westbrook Penitentiary. Chapter 3: The Daily Struggles. The sun rose over Westbrook Penitentiary, casting a feeble light through the narrow windows of James' cell. Another day had begun, bringing with it the relentless challenges of prison life. James braced himself for the trials that awaited him, knowing that each day would test his resilience and sanity. The routine was monotonous and grueling. James found himself thrust into a world where time seemed to blend together, and the days bled into one another. The prison guards, their faces hardened by years of enforcing order, showed no mercy. They reveled in their power, using any means necessary to maintain control over the inmates. James and his fellow prisoners were subjected to long hours of hard labor under the scorching sun or within the suffocating confines of the prison's walls. They toiled in the prison's laundry, kitchen, and workshops, their bodies pushed to the limits of endurance. Failure to meet the expectations of the guards resulted in cruel punishments, beatings, isolation, or deprivation of basic necessities. Each day, James faced the constant surveillance and scrutiny of the guards, their watchful eyes like vultures waiting for a moment of weakness. He learned to navigate the intricate dance of obedience, finding solace in blending into the background, avoiding drawing attention to himself. But survival in Westbrook Penitentiary required more than mere physical endurance. James had to contend with the psychological toll of his confinement. The ever-present sense of despair hung in the air, gnawing at his spirit. The screams of tormented souls echoed through the corridors, a haunting reminder of the darkness that consumed them all. Loneliness became his constant companion. James had no family or friends on the outside, and within these walls, trust was elusive. He witnessed acts of brutality, backstabbing, and the desperate struggle for power among the inmates. The smallest favor could be a catalyst for betrayal, as prisoners sought personal gain at the expense of others. As James continued to keep to himself, he occasionally crossed paths with other inmates who bore the same weariness in their eyes. Yet, forming connections meant navigating treacherous waters. The few moments of respite, the fleeting camaraderie, could quickly turn into a trap. However, James couldn't shake the growing realization that survival in Westbrook Penitentiary would be easier with a small group. He needed allies who understood the perils of their circumstances, individuals who shared the burning desire for freedom and possessed skills that could aid their escape. But finding trustworthy individuals amidst the sea of deception proved to be a formidable challenge. The few who displayed a glimmer of decency were often coerced or tempted into betraying their fellow inmates by the prison's unforgiving system. James knew that the path to assembling a crew would be fraught with danger and uncertainty. As time passed, James discovered hidden talents within himself. He honed his ability to observe and analyze, reading the subtle cues and body language of those around him. It became a necessary survival skill, a way to decipher who might be a potential ally and who would ultimately lead to ruin. In his quest for a crew, James faced countless disappointments. Those he thought he could trust were ultimately swayed by personal gain or fear of retribution. The few genuine connections he formed were fragile, as the prison's harsh environment tested the limits of loyalty. Yet, James refused to surrender to despair. He clung to the flicker of hope that burned within him, knowing that the key to survival lay not only in his own strength but in the strength of a united front. He remained vigilant, searching for the individuals who had managed to retain their humanity amidst the pervasive darkness. Each passing day, James learned to navigate the treacherous waters of Westbrook Penitentiary. He faced the daily struggles with unwavering determination, refusing to let the inhumane conditions and oppressive guards break his spirit. Deep within his core, he knew that his resolve would be crucial in forging the alliances that would pave the way to their eventual escape. As the sun set, casting long shadows across the prison yard, James retired to his cell. Exhausted but not defeated, he clung to the hope that tomorrow would bring him one step closer to assembling a group of individuals who, like him, dared to dream of freedom in the face of insurmountable odds. Chapter 4, The Silent Alliance. Days turned into weeks, and the prison routine continued its relentless march. James remained vigilant, his senses finely attuned to the subtle shifts in the prison dynamics. He had learned to trust his instincts, a survival instinct honed by the unforgiving environment of Westbrook Penitentiary. During one routine work assignment in the prison's workshop, James noticed a fellow inmate named Ethan. Ethan was a man of few words, his demeanor quiet and reserved. There was an air of mystery about him that piqued James' curiosity. He seemed different from the others, displaying an inner strength and resilience that James admired. Intrigued, James approached Ethan cautiously, their paths crossing during a brief moment of respite. They exchanged a few guarded words, testing the waters of trust. It was clear that both shared the same burning desire for escape, a hunger for freedom that could not be extinguished. As their conversations deepened, James discovered that Ethan possessed a wealth of knowledge about the inner workings of the prison. His attention to detail and keen observation had allowed him to uncover hidden vulnerabilities and weaknesses in the prison's security. They realized that their alliance could be mutually beneficial. James offered his own skills and insights into the intricate dynamics among the inmates, while Ethan contributed his knowledge of the prison's architecture and guard routines. Together, they formed a silent alliance, a pact forged in the crucible of their shared confinement. With their newfound partnership, James and Ethan embarked on a covert operation to expand their crew. They discreetly observed other inmates, looking for those who demonstrated resilience, resourcefulness, and a glimpse of moral fiber in the midst of chaos. Their eyes fell upon a young inmate named Lily, a woman who radiated determination and defiance. She had become a master of adaptability, navigating the prison's dark corners with an uncanny agility. James and Ethan saw in her the potential for a valuable addition to their crew. Approaching Lily was no easy task, as trust was a rare commodity within the prison walls. But they devised a plan, carefully crafting their interactions with her, testing her character and commitment to the cause of escape. Through subtle gestures and shared secrets, they slowly built a foundation of trust, knowing that their survival depended on the strength of their bonds. As their circle expanded, James, Ethan, and Lily realized the power of their collective knowledge and skills. Each member brought something unique to the table, be it street smarts, technical expertise, or an unwavering determination to defy the oppressive regime of Westbrook Penitentiary. Yet, they remained cautious, always aware of the ever-present threat of betrayal lurking in the shadows. They understood that one misstep could spell disaster for their plans. The prison walls had witnessed countless alliances crumble under the weight of treachery, and they were determined not to fall victim to the same fate. In the quiet corners of their cells, they strategized and refined their escape plan. They studied the prison's layout, identifying potential weak points and escape routes. They devised clever ways to gather necessary tools and supplies without arousing suspicion from the guards. Each passing day brought them closer to their goal, but the road ahead remained treacherous. They knew that their crew was small, vulnerable, and constantly under scrutiny. But they also knew that their shared determination, resilience, and trust would be their greatest weapons against the prison's oppressive forces. As they prepared to face the challenges that lay ahead, James, Ethan, and Lily vowed to protect one another, to uphold the bonds of their silent alliance. They understood that their escape would require not only physical strength but also unwavering loyalty and the unwavering belief that freedom was within their reach. In the depths of Westbrook Penitentiary, their crew was silently forming, united by a shared vision of a future beyond the prison's walls. The stage was set for their audacious escape, but little did they know that the darkest trials still awaited them, threatening to test their resolve and push them to the very brink of their sanity. Chapter 5, Shadows of Betrayal. Within the confines of Westbrook Penitentiary, where trust was scarce and betrayal loomed at every corner, James, Ethan, and Lily continued to tread cautiously. Their crew, though small, had become a beacon of hope amidst the darkness that enveloped them. Yet, they knew that one wrong move or a misplaced trust could unravel their carefully constructed plans. As they delved deeper into their escape preparations, whispers of their intentions began to circulate among the inmates. Word traveled fast within the prison walls, and the allure of freedom stirred both envy and curiosity. The crew's secret alliance was at risk of being exposed. One evening, as James, Ethan, and Lily huddled in a secluded corner of the prison yard, a familiar face approached them. It was Carlos, the man who had first captivated James' attention with his glimmer of vulnerability. Carlos had overheard the rumors and sought to join their crew, offering his own skills and experience. James regarded Carlos warily, his mind flashing back to the countless betrayals and shattered alliances that had plagued their search for trustworthy companions. He knew that accepting Carlos into their ranks meant taking a considerable risk, potentially putting their lives and plans in jeopardy. The crew engaged in a heated discussion, weighing the potential benefits and risks of allowing Carlos to join. They questioned his motives, delved into his past, and probed the depths of his loyalty. Carlos pleaded his case, vowing that his intentions were genuine and that he had grown weary of the treachery that surrounded him. Despite their reservations, James, Ethan, and Lily recognized that the crew needed every capable member they could find. They cautiously agreed to allow Carlos into their fold, with the understanding that trust would be earned over time, not freely given. Days turned into weeks, and their crew slowly began to take shape. James, Ethan, Lily, and Carlos formed a tight-knit unit, relying on one another for support, guidance, and protection. Each member contributed their unique skills and insights, bolstering their chances of success. Yet, the shadows of betrayal continued to haunt their every move. The prison's environment bred suspicion, and alliances shifted like the ebb and flow of the tides. The crew remained vigilant, ever watchful for signs of deception or ulterior motives within their ranks. Their daily interactions with other inmates became a delicate dance, a balancing act between appearing cooperative to the prison authorities while keeping their true intentions hidden. They knew that any slip-up, any display of dissent or rebellion, could expose their plans and lead to dire consequences. As the crew worked tirelessly on their escape preparations, they encountered other prisoners who showed fleeting glimpses of potential loyalty. James and his companions cautiously observed these individuals, testing their resolve and measuring their character. They knew that expanding their crew was both a necessity and a challenge, as the evil that pervaded the prison had tainted the hearts of many. However, not every encounter yielded a positive outcome. The crew experienced the bitter sting of betrayal from those they had once believed to be allies. It became evident that for a small treat, a moment of respite, or a perceived advantage, prisoners were willing to sell out their companions without a second thought. The crew's trust in one another grew stronger with each betrayal they witnessed. They became a tight-knit unit, bound not only by the shared goal of escape but also by the understanding that their collective survival relied on the strength of their unwavering loyalty. As their plans reached a critical stage, the crew knew that the impending escape would be their greatest test yet. The evil within Westbrook Penitentiary had a way of seeping into the cracks, exploiting weaknesses, and corrupting the hearts of even the most resilient individuals. But James, Ethan, Lily, and Carlos stood firm, refusing to succumb to the darkness that surrounded them. Their escape was on the horizon, and they were prepared to face whatever challenges awaited them. The crew's resolve had been hardened by the trials they endured, their determination fueled by the knowledge that they were not alone. Together, they would navigate the treacherous path to freedom, where the lines between ally and enemy blurred, and trust hung in delicate balance. Chapter 6, The Web of Deception. As the crew pressed forward with their plans, the web of deception within Westbrook Penitentiary grew thicker and more intricate. The prison walls seemed to have ears, and every whisper of their escape plot could potentially find its way to the guards' ears. James, Ethan, Lily, and Carlos knew that discretion was paramount. They communicated in hushed tones, using coded language and secret signals to avoid arousing suspicion. They knew that even a momentary lapse in vigilance could shatter their dreams of freedom. Within the crew, trust continued to be a delicate balance. Each member had their own secrets, their own pasts shrouded in shadows. While they relied on one another for their common goal, they remained wary of the potential hidden agendas that could surface at any moment. One day, during a routine work assignment, James noticed a new face among the inmates. It was Sarah, a woman who had recently arrived at Westbrook Penitentiary. There was something about her that caught James' attention, a mixture of vulnerability and strength that mirrored his own experiences. Curiosity sparked within him, and he discreetly observed Sarah from a distance. There was an air of mystery surrounding her, as if she carried secrets that were waiting to be uncovered. James couldn't help but wonder if she could be a valuable addition to their crew or if she would become another pawn in the game of deception. Approaching Sarah was a delicate task. The crew had learned from past experiences that caution was paramount. James decided to tread lightly, subtly maneuvering their paths to cross during their limited interactions within the prison walls. Gradually, James initiated small conversations with Sarah, testing the waters of trust. He shared fragments of his own story, gauging her reactions and looking for any signs of hidden motives. Sarah, too, revealed glimpses of her past, carefully choosing what she disclosed and what she kept concealed. As their conversations deepened, James felt a connection with Sarah, a shared understanding of the despair and longing for freedom that permeated their lives. They discovered a mutual desire to escape the clutches of Westbrook Penitentiary and the inhumane treatment they endured. However, doubts and suspicions lingered within the crew. Lily voiced her concerns about Sarah's sudden appearance and questioned whether they could truly trust her. Ethan, too, remained cautious, advising James to proceed with caution and not let their guard down. The crew engaged in intense discussions, weighing the risks and benefits of including Sarah in their plans. They understood that their collective safety hinged on their ability to accurately assess her true intentions. They devised a plan to test Sarah's loyalty, setting up scenarios that would force her to reveal her true nature. As the tests unfolded, Sarah's actions were closely scrutinized. The crew watched for any signs of betrayal, analyzing her every move and word. The prison's oppressive atmosphere seemed to heighten, creating an atmosphere of tension and suspicion. With each passing test, Sarah proved her worth. She exhibited courage, resourcefulness, and a fierce determination to break free from the prison's grip. The crew slowly began to trust her, cautiously allowing her access to their escape plans and strategies. Together, the crew expanded their preparations, utilizing Sarah's unique skills and perspectives. She brought a fresh perspective to their plans, challenging their assumptions and offering alternative approaches. Her presence injected a renewed sense of hope and resilience into the crew, reminding them that there were still flickers of light within the darkness. But even with Sarah's inclusion, the crew remained aware of the ever-present danger that lurked within Westbrook Penitentiary. The prison walls whispered tales of deception and broken alliances, serving as a constant reminder that trust could be shattered in an instant. As they continued their preparations, the crew knew that their path to freedom was riddled with obstacles and hidden dangers. The web of deception within the prison threatened to ensnare them at every turn. But with each challenge they faced, their resolve strengthened, and the bonds among them grew unyielding. In the heart of Westbrook Penitentiary, the crew stood united, aware of the risks that lay ahead but undeterred in their pursuit of liberation. They were prepared to navigate the treacherous maze of deception, clinging to the belief that together, they could overcome the sinister forces that sought to keep them imprisoned. Chapter 7, The Unforgiving Trials. As the crew delved deeper into their preparations for escape, the trials within Westbrook Penitentiary grew increasingly unforgiving. The oppressive regime tightened its grip, leaving no room for errors or missteps. The guards, fueled by sadistic pleasure, took delight in breaking the spirits of the inmates. The crew faced new challenges that tested their physical and mental resilience. They endured grueling work assignments, harsh punishments for the slightest infractions, and the constant threat of violence from both the guards and fellow inmates. The prison became a battleground where survival was a constant struggle. Amidst the chaos, the crew found solace in their shared purpose. James, Ethan, Lily, Carlos, and Sarah drew strength from one another, their camaraderie a lifeline in the face of adversity. They supported each other through the darkest moments, reminding themselves that their determination to escape burned brighter than any torment inflicted upon them. Together, they honed their skills and meticulously refined their escape plan. They studied the prison's routines, exploiting its vulnerabilities. They acquired vital tools and resources through covert means, relying on their ingenuity and resourcefulness to evade suspicion. Every step forward was a calculated risk, but they knew that the rewards of freedom were worth it. However, the trials extended beyond the physical realm. The crew had to confront their own inner demons and fears, grappling with doubts and insecurities that threatened to consume them. The weight of their pasts pressed upon them, reminding them of the mistakes and choices that had led them to this point. In moments of vulnerability, they shared their stories, the pain and regrets that had brought them to Westbrook Penitentiary. They confided in one another, finding solace in the understanding that they were not defined solely by their pasts but by their determination to shape their own futures. As their escape plan neared its execution, tension within the crew mounted. The stakes were higher than ever, and doubts resurfaced. The weight of responsibility pressed upon James as the de facto leader. He questioned whether he had made the right choices, whether he had adequately assessed the risks and potential consequences of their actions. The crew engaged in intense discussions, voicing their concerns and fears. They acknowledged the possibility of failure, recognizing the dire consequences that awaited them if their plan went awry. Yet, despite their apprehensions, they resolved to move forward, bound together by a shared belief in their collective strength. The night of their escape arrived, casting a shroud of anticipation over the crew. They executed their plan with precision, navigating the labyrinthine corridors of the prison, inching closer to freedom. Every heartbeat reverberated with a mix of exhilaration and trepidation, their senses heightened to the utmost. Yet, the unforgiving trials persisted. They faced unexpected obstacles, encountered unforeseen challenges that threatened to unravel their carefully orchestrated escape. The guards, alerted to their intentions, launched a relentless pursuit, their sadistic glee fueling their determination to crush any notion of rebellion. The crew found themselves cornered, their escape route blocked, and their hope dimming. Desperation clawed at their hearts, but they refused to surrender. In their darkest hour, their collective strength shone through, as they rallied together, their unity an unbreakable force against the relentless tide of oppression. With quick thinking and unwavering resolve, the crew adapted, improvising an alternative escape route. They relied on their individual strengths, working as a synchronized unit to overcome the obstacles that stood in their way. Each member pushed their limits, fighting through exhaustion and pain, determined to seize the opportunity that freedom presented. As they emerged from the bowels of Westbrook Penitentiary, the world outside beckoned, a world of uncertainty, but also a world where the possibility of a new beginning awaited. The crew stood on the threshold of liberation, their spirits unbroken despite the horrors they had endured. Yet, they knew that their escape was not the end of their journey. The trials they faced within the prison had forever altered them, leaving scars that would serve as a constant reminder of their resilience. They took a moment to gather themselves, the weight of their journey settling upon them, before venturing forth into the unknown, driven by the unyielding pursuit of a life reclaimed. Chapter 8, Into the Abyss. Having escaped the clutches of Westbrook Penitentiary, the crew found themselves thrust into a world that was both unfamiliar and unforgiving. The sweet taste of freedom mingled with a sense of trepidation as they navigated the treacherous path that lay before them. They emerged from the shadows of the prison walls, their eyes adjusting to the blinding light of the outside world. They realized that their struggle was far from over. While they had escaped physical confinement, the scars of their past and the specter of their crimes lingered, casting a long shadow over their newfound freedom. As they ventured forth, they faced a society that saw them as outcasts, branded by their time behind bars. Doors were closed in their faces, opportunities denied, and judgment cast upon them without mercy. It seemed that even beyond the prison walls, they were trapped in a different kind of confinement, battling the prejudices and stigmas that followed them like a haunting echo. Undeterred, the crew clung to the belief that they deserved a chance at redemption. They refused to be defined solely by their past mistakes, recognizing that true liberation required not only physical escape but also the reshaping of their own identities. They sought refuge in the fringes of society, where others who had walked similar paths found solace. In the underground network of those who had been through the system, they discovered a community of support and understanding. These individuals, like them, had experienced the darkness and were fighting to rebuild their lives. The crew found mentors within this community, individuals who had successfully reintegrated into society and were willing to guide them on their own paths of redemption. They learned valuable skills, honed their talents, and worked tirelessly to prove that they were more than just the sum of their past mistakes. But even within this newfound support system, the crew faced their own internal battles. The scars of their time in prison ran deep, affecting their self-worth and casting doubt on their ability to truly change. They grappled with guilt and shame, questioning whether they deserved the chance at a fresh start or if they were condemned to forever be prisoners of their own pasts. Through introspection and shared experiences, they began to heal. They confronted their demons head-on, acknowledging their past actions and taking responsibility for the harm they had caused. It was a painful and necessary process, a crucial step towards their personal transformation. Together, they built a solid foundation of trust and accountability. They held one another accountable for their actions, providing unwavering support and encouragement as they each embarked on their individual journeys towards redemption. They celebrated each small victory, no matter how insignificant it may have seemed, knowing that the path to true liberation was paved with perseverance and resilience. As time passed, the crew began to make strides in their respective endeavors. They found employment, using their acquired skills to contribute positively to society. They reached out to their families, seeking forgiveness and attempting to rebuild broken bonds. They became advocates for prison reform, sharing their stories to shed light on the systemic issues that perpetuated cycles of incarceration. Their impact was not limited to their own lives. The crew became beacons of hope for others who had once felt trapped within the unforgiving walls of the prison system. They provided support and guidance to those who sought redemption, extending a hand to lift others out of the abyss of despair. Their journey towards true freedom was far from over, but they faced the challenges with newfound strength and resilience. They had emerged from the darkness of Westbrook Penitentiary, transformed by their experiences, and ready to rewrite their own narratives. As they continued to carve their own paths, they carried the lessons learned from their time within the prison walls. They knew that true liberation was not just about physical escape, but about breaking free from the shackles of their past, embracing growth, and forging a future defined by redemption and compassion. Chapter 9, Shadows of the Past. In their pursuit of redemption and a new life, the crew found themselves confronted by the shadows of their past. The echoes of their previous actions reverberated through their present, threatening to unravel the progress they had made and test the strength of their resolve. James, Ethan, Lily, Carlos, and Sarah discovered that escaping the physical confines of Westbrook Penitentiary was only the first step in their journey. The consequences of their past crimes followed them like haunting specters, reminding them of the lives they had once lived and the damage they had caused. For James, a family he had left behind resurfaced, casting doubt on whether he deserved forgiveness or a second chance. The wounds of betrayal and broken trust threatened to reopen, and he was forced to confront the pain he had inflicted upon his loved ones. Ethan found himself haunted by the demons of addiction that had led him down a destructive path. The temptations and triggers that lay in wait outside the prison walls tested his resolve, forcing him to confront the underlying issues that had fueled his self-destructive behavior. Lily carried the weight of remorse for the life she had taken in a moment of rage. The memory of that fateful act haunted her dreams, and the fear of being consumed by darkness once again gnawed at her spirit. Carlos struggled with the stigma of his former gang affiliations, as his past connections threatened to pull him back into a cycle of violence and retribution. The choices he had made in his youth resurfaced, and he battled against the influence of his former associates. Sarah, too, faced her own demons. The secrets she had carried from her time before prison, the choices she had made that had led her down a path of criminality, threatened to undermine the trust she had built with the crew. She grappled with guilt and the fear of being exposed. The crew came face to face with their shadows, acknowledging that the path to redemption was not without its challenges. They understood that true transformation required more than mere external change, it demanded an internal reckoning and a commitment to growth. In the face of their pasts, the crew rallied together, providing support and strength when individual resolve wavered. They became each other's pillars of support, reminding one another of the progress they had made and the potential for a brighter future. They sought guidance from mentors, counselors, and support groups, reaching out for assistance in navigating the complex emotions and obstacles that arose from their pasts. Through therapy, self-reflection, and a commitment to personal growth, they confronted their shadows head-on, refusing to be defined solely by their past actions. The crew also discovered the power of forgiveness, both forgiving themselves and seeking forgiveness from those they had wronged. They reached out to their families, friends, and victims, opening the door to reconciliation and healing. They understood that forgiveness was a process, one that required humility, patience, and a genuine commitment to change. As they confronted their shadows, the crew found that their pasts, though painful, also held valuable lessons. The experiences that had led them to prison became catalysts for growth and transformation. They embraced their mistakes as opportunities for learning and vowed to use their newfound freedom to make amends and create positive change. Their collective journey became a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. They defied the shadows that threatened to engulf them, emerging stronger and more determined to forge a future defined by redemption and compassion. With every step forward, the crew shed the weight of their past, inching closer to the individuals they aspired to become. Their stories became beacons of hope for others, inspiring those trapped in the darkness of their own pasts to believe in the possibility of redemption and the power of personal transformation. As they faced their shadows, the crew realized that true freedom was not just about escaping physical confinement, but about finding inner peace, embracing growth, and embracing the potential for a future defined by forgiveness, healing, and the relentless pursuit of a better self. Chapter 10, A New Dawn. In the final chapter of their harrowing journey, the crew stood at the precipice of a new dawn. They had faced the horrors of Westbrook Penitentiary, overcome the trials that tested their spirits, and confronted the shadows of their pasts. Now, it was time for them to embrace the limitless possibilities that lay ahead. The crew had transformed not only as individuals but as a tight-knit group. Their shared experiences, challenges, and triumphs had forged an unbreakable bond that would endure beyond their time together in prison. They had become a family, a support system that would continue to uplift and inspire one another in the years to come. As they stepped into the world beyond the prison walls, the crew was met with a newfound sense of hope and optimism. They had reclaimed their lives and had gained a profound appreciation for the precious gift of freedom. They were determined to make the most of this second chance and create a future filled with purpose and meaning. The crew sought to rebuild their lives with honesty, integrity, and a commitment to positive change. They actively sought opportunities to give back to their communities, channeling their experiences to advocate for prison reform, mentor at-risk youth, and support those who were still trapped within the system. They became beacons of hope, inspiring others to believe in the transformative power of redemption. Individually, the crew pursued their dreams and aspirations, using the skills they had acquired within prison to carve out new paths. James, once estranged from his family, took the first steps toward reconciliation, mending broken relationships and embracing the responsibilities of fatherhood. He found work as a counselor, using his own journey as inspiration to guide others on the path of redemption. Ethan, fueled by his own battle with addiction, became an advocate for recovery, dedicating himself to helping others break free from the chains of substance abuse. He established support groups and founded a nonprofit organization that provided resources and guidance to those seeking recovery. Lily, haunted by the memory of taking a life, channeled her remorse into creating a safer world. She became a fierce advocate against violence, working tirelessly to promote peace and conflict resolution within her community. Through art and storytelling, she shared her own journey of redemption, hoping to inspire others to seek alternatives to violence. Carlos, determined to break free from his gang affiliations, dedicated himself to creating opportunities for disadvantaged youth. He founded a mentorship program that empowered young individuals to rise above their circumstances and pursue education and personal growth. He became a role model, proving that one's past did not have to define their future. Sarah, driven by her own guilt, committed herself to supporting victims of crime and raising awareness about the impact of her actions. She became an advocate for restorative justice, promoting healing and reconciliation between victims and offenders. Her own transformation became a testament to the power of accountability and empathy. As the crew pursued their individual paths, they continued to lean on one another for support. Their bond remained unbreakable, serving as a constant reminder of the strength they had forged together. They celebrated each other's successes and lifted each other up during moments of doubt or setbacks. In the years that followed, the crew's impact rippled far beyond the prison walls. Their stories became a source of inspiration, shedding light on the flaws within the criminal justice system and inspiring meaningful change. They became advocates for reform, using their voices to fight for a system that focused on rehabilitation rather than punishment. Through their efforts, the crew not only found redemption for themselves but also helped shape a world that was more compassionate, understanding, and willing to give second chances. They proved that even in the darkest corners, the human spirit could triumph over adversity and that transformation was always possible. As the curtain fell on their remarkable journey, the crew stood side by side, gazing at the horizon with hope-filled hearts. They had faced the toughest of conditions, conquered their inner demons, and emerged as beacons of hope and resilience. They were living testaments to the power of redemption, reminding the world that no one was beyond forgiveness or the capacity to change. And as they embraced the new dawn, they embarked on a lifelong commitment to themselves, to each other, and to a future that would forever be marked by their indomitable spirit and unwavering belief in the power of redemption.